Shalom, it's Fallen Yeshua. Welcome again to the Rock. This is not going to be a video on the topic that I've been talking about more recently on this channel. This is going to be, although it still pertains to the same idea. When I talk about homesteading, family, faith, being self-sufficient, all these things are intertwined. Having a covering, these are all intertwined. So please don't ever take this and think that I'm talking about some one-off topic. Well, he's talking about marriage now. This has nothing to do with preparedness or with getting, self-sufficiency. It actually does. If you actually look and follow the graph, you'll see it's all intermingled. But we continue to see a decline in society. We continue to see, I was reading a report, homelessness is rising at rates not seen since, I think it's like the Great Depression or something like that. Like, people are being evicted. Interest rates are going to decimate people. And they're talking about raising rates multiple times this year. And on top of the raising, especially for those of you who run around those adjustable rates, not just that, but inflation is eating away. Rent prices are rising exponentially. I was reading reports that said rent could rise anywhere between 12 to 25% this year, which means for those of you that are paying, let's just say $2,000 for your apartment, or you could be paying $2,500 by the end of this year. And I was just talking with my brothers, and they were saying, and your what you make at your job isn't going to be raising 25%, and that's just rent. We have the Ukraine and Russia situation. You do understand that's going to affect gas. They're also talking about the possibility of $7 to $10 a gallon gas. Well, falling sure, I don't care because I can afford all that. I'm not worried. It's no big deal to me. But is it a big deal to your neighbor? And first of all, people say that all the time. Is that really what you feel? Is that really it? And if you are in that position and you really say, I'm not worried, cool. I could just keep affording to pay the rising prices and it's no big deal to me. That's cool. But can your neighbor afford it? Can the people around you afford it? Because see, as homelessness rises, it's a statistical fact. When homelessness rises, crime rises. Crime rises in some cases 2 times the rate of what homelessness rises. Because people that are on the streets now have to do other things to make ends meet, to even eat. Then they have to have their coping mechanisms, which is largely, at many times, suppressants or stimulants, drugs. This is why whenever you see homelessness rise in an area, you oftentimes see, higher drug use, needles on the ground, things like that. But also, you have sanitary conditions in those areas because people don't know where to go to the bathroom. And a lot of times these places, when there's homelessness rising, they'll close down the public park bathrooms. So all this is going on, you may be able to afford the raising rates. But if everybody around you can't, what does that mean for you? This is why the quiet, the set apart, the peaceable life, away from these population centers, is and always has been the answer. Now, I know a lot of people, I ain't doing that, okay. Yeah, you don't have to do it, that's cool, I understand. You're not doing it. But for those that are thinking about it and those that are, think about what it means for your bills, I'm talking, that's the average one of us. What does it mean for your bills if you can't afford to buy food? If you can't afford to put gas in your car? If your gas goes from, let's say you have a 20-gallon tank and gas is $8. You're paying $160. That's not including the taxes, but $160 per fill up. When my beloved brother David was talking to me on the phone, he said that means that every trip that you make to the gas station, or every trip you make to the grocery store, you gotta travel 20 miles one direction, 20 miles back. Are you really going to be doing that, knowing that you're paying $8 a gallon? and your car only gets 20 miles per gallon, you could use a gallon or two of gas. You could use $16 in gas, so you have to start calculating that into the cost of your food that you buy. Since the average American goes to the grocery store for every little thing anyways. Oh, I forgot the vinegar. Gosh, I gotta go back to get the vinegar. And they get back in their car and they drive over there to get the vinegar. What's that gonna do for trucking? What's that gonna do to the economy? See, this is why this is a bigger issue. This is why it needs to be discussed. Because everybody's been waiting for this grand chase the fan situation. Everybody's been waiting for the shit's gonna hit the fan, and we're gonna be fighting in the streets, and it's gonna happen. You know, there's always that fantasy of the lights go out. When the lights go out, everybody, it's anarchy on day one. EMP. But what you're seeing right now, it was a very slow decline, and people haven't planned for this. They wanted to see something big happen where they could all hunker down, but we're watching something slow. And these are the worst ones. You know, you put the frog in the pot and you turn on the water, and if the water was cool when it was first in there, when you put the frog first in there, it'll stay in there and get boiled to death. But if you put it in boiling water, it's gonna jump out. People don't understand that they're boiling right now, and they're just like and their skin's being peeled off their body, and they don't realize yet that how bad it actually is for them. That's what sin is. Sin works the same way. You don't know how bad it actually is for you until you start facing the recompenses and the consequences of your sin. Then suddenly it's like, wait a minute. Well, it doesn't pay to be ignorant. Right now, the root word of ignorance is to ignore. Y'all's people perish for a lack of knowledge because they reject knowledge. They ignore it. So I know, talking to brothers all over the country right now that are all preparing their gardens. Hey, brother, you got some seeds? I got seeds. Yes, I do. You got Jerusalem artichokes? Yes, I do. Can I buy some? Absolutely. For those that know, you can buy seeds, Jerusalem artichokes, cuttings. Go email me at hood to homestead, HOOD, the number 2, then homestead at yahoo.com, and I'll send you a listing. We can do some business. You can buy some seeds, non-GMO, organic. I harvest my own seeds here. There you go. I harvest all of my seeds here. But I digress. So food is one of the things that if you don't have, you're going to need food. You're going to need clean water. You're going to need a roof over your head. You're going to need those things. You're just going to. And the Bible talks about that in the Apocrypha. It talks about all the different things that you're going to need. Salt and fire and iron and, a roof to cover shame. And I believe it was milk and the blood of the grape and honey and, wheat, food, heat, and a roof. And for a lot of people right now, they're having to pick which one of those things that they are going to have and which ones they're not going to have. Am I going to have a roof over my head, or am I going to have food, or am I going to have water, or am I going to have heat? Because they keep pursuing this life, this fantasy called the American dream. What did George Carlin say? That you have to be asleep to believe, or something like that. The American dream, you have to be asleep to believe it. There is no dream. There is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There really only is, have you put in the work or haven't you put in the work? There really only is, are you a sister that is covered or you a sister that is not covered? There really only is, have you been the prudent man for seeing the evil or haven't you? And now we're starting to see, it really is, have you left the reservation or not left the reservation? Are you still on the reservation hoping that, because you didn't do it, you didn't make the move, so now you're hoping that somebody else will come and bail you out? Complacency and laziness. There's too many signs that are happening in this world right now for people to still have their eyes closed, to still act like things aren't what they are. You're closing your own eyes and being foolish to your own detriment. Look at what's happening. And ask yourself, are you ready for what is coming? And you might, I made the mention of that slow ball. I've been mentioning it for years. That snowball is going downhill. And it started off as a small little snowball. And as it went downhill, it got faster and faster and bigger and bigger. Then it got to the point where you can't stop the snowball. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and picking up speed and getting bigger and bigger and trampling and crushing everything in its way. And now it's an avalanche of snow coming down the hill. And your house is right there in the middle. Your life is right there in the middle of that avalanche. Why didn't you take the time that you had to get out of the way of that avalanche? When people warned you, hey, get out of the way. It's coming. It's not coming. I'm not worried about it. It's coming. You're just, fear mongering. You just, that's what you're doing. Look now. If you haven't made moves, again, make them. If you haven't made moves, I hope you truly had it in your heart to do it. It's time's run out. And for a lot of people, to be honest, time has ran out. And you know it. I'm going to go back to plowing or tilling this garden. Because here, we understand the importance of food. And we understand what inflation does to prices. The more you grow, the more you don't have to spend. Bless y'all. Shalom.